Unsolved 1994. The case of 37-year-old David Foley. David Foley was shot outside the Northumberland Arms pub, 141 King's Cross Road, King's Cross, on the 12th of July 1994. He was shot once through the temple at point-blank range. It was heard that David Foley had had a gun himself, but that he had not been able to use it. He had also been shot on the 2nd of July 1994 by 3 or 4 men in Offord Road, Islington, who fired at him at least 6 times, but he survived that shooting after he hid behind a scaffolding lorry parked outside a betting shop. None of the men were ever found. However, a man was tried for arranging his murder from within Parkhurst Prison, but the case was thrown out by the judge after the Crown made its case, the judge saying that there was no case to answer. The judge said, "Having gone through the evidence of the case, I have come to the conclusion that there is not enough evidence for charges of this seriousness to stand." It was said that the man's wife had called the man whilst he was in prison and told him that she had been assaulted by David Foley. The man had been charged with murder, conspiracy to murder, and soliciting another person to commit murder. The trial heard that David Foley's daughter had made an anonymous phone call to the man's daughter towards the end of June 1994, in which she referred to the girl, who suffered from cerebral palsy, as a cripple. However, it was heard that the man's wife, the girl's mother, found out who had made the calls, and that she and 2 other women took the girl round to the girl's family's home to make her confess what she had done to her father, David Foley. However, it was heard that when the girl burst out in tears, David Foley came out and beat the 3 women up, kicking and punching them. It was then heard that when the woman called her husband up, who was in Parkhurst Prison, that he was furious and demanded that retribution be taken and arranged by phone from prison for David Foley to be served as meat on a plate. At the trial, it was heard that the man had known that his calls might be monitored, but that he was so angry that he didn't care what he said. It was heard that the man had spoken to a couple of people, and that in conclusion he was told that the job would be done. At the trial, it was heard that there were over 4 hours of conversations recorded through the prison telephone service, which encompassed 220 pages of written transcripts. One conversation that was recorded included the man that was in prison talking to his wife around the 2nd of July 1994, saying, "Last night he was battering 3 girls. Today he's getting bullets at him. I'm buzzing." The prosecution had said, "The man was not the gunman, and he cannot be the gunman because at the time he was in Parkhurst Prison." But the prosecution case is that he is a man fiercely protective of his family, and when he heard that David Foley had been the cause of trouble to his wife, he arranged to have him, as he called it, served or killed. It was done over the telephone. David Foley had been a minicab driver and had lived in Golders Green Road, Golders Green, London. However, it was heard that David Foley's minicab office in Kentish Town was thought to have been a front for a drug dealing operation, and that he might have alternatively been targeted by other drug dealers or criminals. The man that had been in prison that was said to have arranged his murder had been convicted in 1988 for a series of armed raids and sentenced to 20 years. He was also convicted for shooting a policeman who was left crippled. He killed himself on the 16th of March 2019 in HMP Wormwood Scrubs. Nothing more is known about who murdered David Foley, or whether the man in Parkhurst had had anything to do with it, or someone else, and his murder remains unsolved to this day.